Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Deserto's The Jungle. And it's your boy dGon here with Monty and Dom. Not that many games covered here, but all impactful, including saying goodbye to two teams in those two major regions across the 4 or 5 series that we had. Here, what is it? It's April 18th, the day that we're recording this, and we're saying goodbye to Cloud9 and JDG, both getting eliminated from their respective playoff runs. Before we dive into those series and the series that led to those, always ask, Monty, how's your week, man? How are you doing?
Great. I'm really happy to say goodbye to both Cloud9 and JDG, considering they were the teams in both playoffs that I wanted to watch the least. So I'm psyched. I'm psyched. It's all going great from this point forward.
What did JDG do to you?
Ran through the jungle every single team fight, chasing people to the 4 corners of the earth and annoying me.
That is true. Dom, you got to watch those up close and personal, I'm sure. How was your week?
It was good. Yeah, everything's winding down. I got to spend a lot of time actually talking about G2 last week. So that was a good time. G2 has a lot of fans. So if you downplay any of their accomplishments, it's always a great time. And the best thing about G2 fans is they're so mentally ill that they can't even argue based off the things that you've said. They have to then go and lie about what you said and then argue against that. So that's always a fun time, just going back through and then rewriting history and stuff like that. We had a nice little Reddit thread where they're talking about how Vitality's bot lane actually lost to G2's and things like that, and how it was uneventful and Carzzy was actually getting outperformed. So it was a good week. It was one of those where it's just like, if you do this for long enough, which takes people are going to like and which takes people are not going to like. And you can just give in and just tell people what they want to hear all the time. But I think that to do this job well, you actually just have to say what you think in the long term. I think it's just the most beneficial thing for you. So, I mean, who knows? Who knows how this is going to go? I have a prediction actually for this episode.
You have a prediction already? All right.
My prediction is when we start dunking on C9, because people really like LS, people are going to actually be pretty happy about that. People want to hear how fucking dumb C9 was for what they did with their fucking coach. Like, the whole team was built around C9 or around LS, and then C9 got rid of LS. Like, people are going to be fine with that. People aren't going to be like, but you guys, why aren't you praising EG more? Why aren't we just talking about how good EG is? Why do we have to talk about how bad C9 is? So it'll actually be the opposite, even though we'll probably be doing the same thing this show as we did last.
We did not rehearse this. This was not rehearsed, but literally I was just scrolling through the comments, which you can hop into and make sure that you are ready to put your comment in every time if you subscribe to the Deserto channel. Make sure to go ahead and do that right now. Hit that subscribe button. We have one comment here. Sorry, producer, this is not the one that we had prepared, but it just goes really well with what Dom said. It goes,
I do get that Fnatic and Rogue underperformed, but I've heard that argument for a while now. Can we just state the reasons why G2 won, like their gameplay? I'm genuinely interested in the opinions of people that understand League better than I do.
Yeah.
So that's literally what we just did.
Well, there's a couple of things that I heard, right? Like, so one of the ultimate takes of Copium that I've heard is, well, if Fnatic and Rogue both choked against G2, doesn't that mean that it's just G2 forcing other teams to choke? And it's like
they're just like cramming, they're just cramming a rock down their throat.
Yeah,
right?
well,
that's not how it works, guys.
Well, I mean, maybe if it happened like 100 series in a row, but I think that like 2 isolated series could involve teams underperforming.
Do you remember that deranged TSM fan from back in the day who made the Just Tilt Them post on Reddit, which is one of the all-time worst fan takes that I've seen in any esport or sport, and it got massively upvoted. And the consent, what it boiled down to was like, just tilt them. Like, why aren't you winning against Korean teams? You're not tilting them in game enough and forcing them to lose to themselves. That's not an actual, that you can't anticipate that you're going to do that. That's a nice byproduct of having a great game plan. It is not, in fact, a game plan in and of itself.
Just tilt them. You got to shake them up, Monty. You got to make them uncomfortable.
Well, I'm not sure if you guys remember, there was an article that said that for solo queue. I think it was called like the Flash and Bang solo queue approach, and it was literally just never give up. Why do you think these Smurfs always stress out the other team? Because you just want them to fall apart, and then people would take that type of thinking and then put that into pro play, which is I think where that came from. Where was that? I think that was on one of the old websites, Cloth 5. I think Cloth 5 was the name of that outlet that did. Do you remember that?
That's an OG name I haven't heard in a long time.
Like GG
All
Chronicle or
right.
something, you know? Some of those old school
One of
ones.
those old sites. Who knows?
Like Riff
who knows what
Review
happened
or
to them?
something.
Reign of Elements. You know.
Reign of Elements.
That's
Greatest
the
tier
original
list.
one.
That's how starved people were for content back in the day. They're like, a tier list, perfect. This is the best thing I've ever seen. Like the champions are rated.
All right. Well, that was a good.
And that was 10 years ago, and nobody will remember what we're talking about.
No, yeah, they won't. Oh man. All these youngins. That's okay. That's okay. Search Cloth 5. It's on the internet. It exists somewhere. All right, let's start off in the LPL. Let's go LPL first. Also in today's show, we have a special guest joining us. Probably should have started there at the top somewhere. We have TL co-CEO Steven Arhancet, Arhancet, as he was being
Producer
referred
calls
to a
him.
little bit. Big Steve coming on the show. We'll chat a little bit about TL as a whole, TL's league season this week, and of course we'll needle him a little bit about this week's specific performance against 100 Thieves. But yeah, it'll be really cool to have Steve come and join us and chat a little bit on the back half of the show. All right, LPL. We left off at the beginning of the best part of the playoff bracket in all of League of Legends. After the gauntlet is done, the double elimination bracket with the top 4 teams still left. We had V5, Top Esports, RNG, and JDG. I don't know why always when I say JDG, I want to say Jindong Gaming, because that is what they're called, but they just go by JDG. And those 2 series played themselves out, and we got ourselves 2 losers to play in the loser bracket and had that game done as well. So 3 series done there. Top Esports and V5. Let's start there. V5 2-0, pretty dominant. The beginning of game 3 looked pretty good as well, and Top Esports find a way to reverse it around and get the reverse sweep. Dom, let's start with you there. What did you see from this series, and how did this play out?
Well, it seems like every team that plays against V5 is now doing the summit approach, where you just ban out top laners. Well, now it's mid laners for rookie, and you just ban out rookie's champions.
Or mid
yeah, you just ban like 4 or 5 mid laners. You just ban everything in the fucking game against this guy to just stop him from carrying, and you want anyone else to actually step up and carry, because Rich has been like pretty good in the LPL, but he's not the same threat that Rookie is. Like when Rookie is playing his Orianna, it just feels like he's going to 1v9 the game every single time. So now teams are just like, you can't play Ari, you can't play Orianna, and then like if it gets down to 4 or 5, it's like, okay, and Syndra and fucking like Galio
LeBlanc and Galio,
LeBlanc, TF, like anything.
Azir.
What is he gonna play? Ban everything that he plays. So I mean, it's just Rookie thinks he's just too good.
Yeah. Also, PP God is actually incapable of playing any support that isn't an early game engage support, is what I learned. He looked. V5 has never seen a fight they didn't like. That's what I learned. Except some of these fights come with compositions where they really probably should not be skirmishing around Dragon early on, and PP God will just completely run it down if he's not playing Leona. But luckily for them, they could probably just pick Leona every game because all the bans are going towards rookies, absorbing like literally 4 bans when V5 is on blue side. I think you rein in, you actually play to your comp's strengths, or PP God just plays Leona, and this team probably wins LPL. I think they actually have one of the more fixable problems among the remaining teams because they don't have a player that is doing horribly more of the time. I will say that. I think in these playoffs, they're like 4-1 with Leona, and they're like 1-3 on non-Leona champions. Can you tell me, what is PP God's champion pool? Because I didn't watch all of V5's games. Has it been a recurring problem throughout the season?
I mean, yeah, he's just one of those supports where he's definitely the worst player on the team. So okay. we'll start with that. So he's definitely the worst player on the team. And a lot of times, like one thing that the team actually does really well around PP God is, I mean, he's better on tank champions than pretty much anything else. And what they do really well around PP God, and you saw it in game 1 of this series, which I think is probably one of the cleanest games I've seen in
really
any region. Like just the way that they played this game out, it was just like so textbook. If you were gonna like show somebody how to push an advantage in competitive League of Legends and how you like snowball a game perfectly, go watch that game, because the way that they like set up vision and stuff with PP God checking, but everyone like hovering in range so that if you engage on the support, they can still like counter engage, they can still win the fight. And the way that they like push lanes into controlling vision together, I think is just top notch. It's one of those things where if PP God is not on a champion, they can do that. How do they actually get themselves in position to take control of areas? Because it doesn't seem like they're completely aware of like, so if Karsa has to face check, is he going to be the one, like, is that necessarily going to be something that you're comfortable doing? Because a lot of the times when they have these comps, if they're playing something like a Viego or a Lee Sin, it's not as easy to follow up on your jungle getting one shot as it is on following up on your support getting one shot, because your support will generally be tankier, and also like a lot of supports just need to get off like an ulti or just get off like a CC or something, and the fight completely changes. So yeah, I mean, PP God's definitely the weakness of this team, and I think Rich has been playing worse in the last few games than I remember. I mean, he had like an awful Kennen game, yeah, where he's like getting solo killed by Malphite. I think it was game 5 of this series.
They literally got aced like at a dragon fight, and then also at the same time, well, they lost 4 members at the dragon fight, and then Rich died into a 1v1 as Malphite ulted him in top lane. It was sad. That game was sad.
It was really sad, but I still have like confidence in this team. I would much rather have this team go internationally than
I agree with that.
Esports.
So I think if you do have to give the Nox against V5, like I said, it's sometimes they'll what they do is they'll play aggressively on both sides of the map, even though Karsa is like only on one side of the map, and then sometimes they just randomly int. The other thing that they do is that if they don't seem to play, when I say they've never seen a fight they didn't like they will not play to power spikes or their team compositions. Like they will fight you with that dragon no matter what happens. And perhaps it's because they win a lot of the time when they're playing more early game CC champions on PP God that it makes sense. The other reason I think they do it, and a unique upside to V5, is that they are one of the best teams in the world at cleaning up after fights. Like, what's so incredible to me about watching Rookie play is like when they win a fight and Rookie's still alive, he will find a way to like get in your ass and like win harder. He will like be in between turrets. He will chase people down in incredible ways. And so it's like when they win a fight, they win fights harder than almost any other team, because they like will go the extra mile, or they'll have some like really creative play to like hide somewhere, and then like you come back and then you die more. So I really like that about V5, and I think they're definitely a strong team. It's just I think they need certain conditions to succeed, like Dom is talking about with a tank support. So if they get that though, and by the way, there's no reason they shouldn't be able to get this if Rookie's absorbing all of these bans, then I think they can figure these things out. I also think the difference between the top series and the JDG series that they played was them realizing this, and then it was a much cleaner series overall.
Yeah, a bunch of Renata games in that first series against Top Esports. So you got 2 Renata games, Rakan game, Tom Kench game. But that first win, that was the cleanest, and one that is
the Rakan and Tom Kench games were fucking appalling from him.
Yeah.
They were super bad. But then he just plays 4 Leona games in the next series, and you see a massive difference.
Yeah, and the thing about like playing a tank support is it's not like the biggest weakness in the world to play a tank support if you're just willing to like play those types of matchups, like a Leona versus like a Braum, or a Leona versus a Tom Kench. Like these are the things that counter you. So it's something that you can opt into doing like almost every game, and most supports don't have the champion pool to counter you, number one. And then also it's like one of those things where if you're good enough on engaged supports and you have like, you understand how to stack waves and like dive with multiple people, if you're a good team at using that engage, like you can win a world championship playing with engaged supports.
It's also just one of those things where they're almost always at least usable in the meta. It's like playing control mages in mid. It's very rare. Like you can always build some sort of composition around these kind of champions.
Yeah. Well, again, Top Esports take the victory here over V5, the number 1 seed in our first I guess double elimination bracket. I guess they're calling it round 4 in the LPL. And if you were one of those fans that got to watch it, make sure to hit that subscribe button to the Deserto channel, because we're being flooded by a lot of EU G2 fans, and that's fine, that's great, but we're giving you the cream of the crop kind of gameplay here and some of the best teams that you should be watching as we go to MSI. And if you are doing that, let me know in the comments and I'll give you a shout out in our next episode. Let's look to our second series that we had. RNG versus JDG. Jindung Gaming took a commanding 2-0 lead as well, but then RNG find a way to battle back. Gala finally getting the resources to pop off here and go huge. Bin realizing, oh, he can play the game, because the first like 3 games he was just kind of there and not really doing too much. And Xiaohu flipping on over on the Ari into the LeBlanc, had a bunch of much better games in in the later half of the series. So Monty, this series here,
I think like you see both in this series and in the series that RNG played against top esports, RNG has to be like, I think they're worse than both V5 and top, and that's going to sound crazy considering that they beat top 3-1. But this RNG team has like some very, very serious flaws, and Wei on early game junglers is a absolute liability. Like, he actually is just like a gold delivery system into the enemy team. He has to be on like a scaling jungler. Like, having him on the Viego is a great idea. Having him on Volibear or Lee Sin is tragic. Even though, and people will say, well, he got some steals in the top series. Like, yes, he actually did have some extremely important plays in the late game in the top series, but also top through a lot of those games. Like, top probably should have won every single game in the series versus RNG. And to me, they're just extremely one-dimensional. Like, it's basically like, how hard they create a deficit due to their drafts and Wei being terrible at these early game junglers. And then it's like, how hard can Gala carry these games, doing massive damage on like a 4-item Aphelios? And I can't imagine this team doing well at an international level. Or I'm shocked they're in the finals from the upper bracket, because they create deficits that they should not be able to overcome. Frankly, like, it is ridiculous that they are in the finals through the upper bracket. Dom's muted. He pressed equals again.
I pressed equals. Wait, when did I press equals? Wait, when did I press equals? I'm trying to think about when I would have pressed equals. Yeah, no, for RNG versus TES, like, I think that the Lee Sin games were fine. I mean, the game 4, he literally just gets fucked because of level 1. Like, and then game 3, I think he actually has a good Lee Sin game. So I don't think that Lee Sin is a champion that he's bad at. I think that just in general, they just are playing poorly early game. And it's really weird that Wei is like having these issues playing like Volibear specifically, because like, he was a really good early game jungler for a long period of time. I mean, I think that like at MSI, I thought he was the best jungler at that tournament, which is huge to say because Canyon was obviously at that tournament. So it's strange to me that Wei is like struggling so much. And the other thing that's really weird about RNG is that they always play towards top side, but their bot lane is always fucking doing so well. Like, their bot lane is the best bot lane in LPL in terms of a duo. Like, Ming and Gala are so fucking good together. Gala is still, in my opinion, top 2 AD carry in the entire region.
I'm surprised at the limits. I'm surprised watching these games at the limits that Gala and Ming know. Like, they knew all, like, some really interesting all-ins that would get kills, and I was like, I didn't even know it was possible to get that kill right there.
Yeah, the Tristana Rel one, is that one?
Yes, the Tristana Rel one. I was like, what the fuck? And like, you could tell that Jackie Love and Mark didn't know that it was possible for them to die there.
Yeah, because especially like the way that they like engage it, where it's like they know it's like, okay, so if Tristana jumps and then he gets exhausted, then he cleanses the exhaust and flashes the Tom Kench knock up, then it's just a straight up kill. It's like there's nothing else. It's just a straight fucking kill. So I mean, I think that
I watched that like 5 times. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah. The Rel, but you know what's so tragic is like he gets this solo kill in lane, and then what do? They just play fucking topside for the rest of the game. And then the thing about Bin is like, okay, sure, they make the dive happen top. They have like the Rise Lee Sin going towards the Kennen topside. They put the Jace behind, but then like Wei and Bin just make like some horrible mistake, and as soon as they make that mistake, the whole top lane lead is gone. At the whole time, Gullah is like just getting punished on the other side. He's having to give up waves. He's having to like sack turret plates. And the enemy AD carry is just getting into the game and getting ahead of him when he's actually playing better. So I feel like Gala, I don't know how he's not super tilted every fucking game, because if I was on this team, I'd be like, look, like, let's be real here. The game
is reverse Uzi. Drown the puppy.
Yeah, drown the fucking puppy. if I'm carrying every fucking game, and I'm like, Gull is the type of AD where he's not making major mistakes. Like he doesn't just randomly run it down, and that's a quality that a lot of AD carries don't have. Like even Gumayushi, that would be probably Gumayushi's biggest flaws. That sometimes like Gumayushi gets ahead in lane, and then like sometimes when he's just holding mid, he'll just die like to like a 3-man or something, where it's like, all right, like you probably just shouldn't die there. You're just not respecting the enemy team enough.
He's like, I must auto this turret one more time, and then he just gets caught and dies.
Yeah, I mean, when you see Gala like give up that death in the game, normally it's just a desperation thing where the team's so far behind that he's like, okay, I'm like gonna have to flash into this team fight. It's the only way that we're gonna be able to win games. So I feel like RNG is just like their early game is so much worse than it should be. And if they match up into a team like T1, I think it's fucking doomed because T1's biggest strength is early game. So it's like it's the opposite of what it should be. But
the punish from T1 against a team like RNG would be like the clap would be unbelievable. Yeah. They would just get in an unrecoverable position.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would want to say. But then like I feel like there's some games watching T1 that like RNG would win because T1 does throw games. It's just that normally like when they throw games, they just come right back and just like win the next fight. Like for example, game 3 of finals was a game where I feel like RNG is the type of team where you give them that like little bit late game, they make better decisions around like objectives than most teams in the world. And that's something that when they were at their best, when they won MSI, that was always their biggest strength. Like they were the best team around Baron in the world, bar none. And that was something that people thought Domwon was going to be better at. They're like, oh shit, of course, like the rookie jungler and shit is not going to come in here. I mean, it was technically a second year, but the 18-year-old jungler is not going to come in here and just be like super confident around objectives. But normally RNG has always been really, really good at capitalizing mid to late game on like enemy teams miss macro, I guess you would call it.
You know, I'll say this about the finals. Like, I think T1 played worse in those finals than they have at many other points throughout this season. And I think a lot of it was because they were literally sick with COVID. I also think, for what it's worth, that these LPL games are probably weird because they're playing from home, because they seem pretty sloppy in a way that I'm not sure they would be on stage.
They were pretty sloppy like throughout most of the split on stage, but it's just like one of those things where like even when I like, I mean, look, whenever I doubt LPL, I'm always fucking wrong, right? So like it's one of those things where I'll always like until I see like them get shit on internationally a couple times, I'm always gonna give them a chance. Like I'm never gonna go into MSI and be yeah, T1 will beat them 100% of the time.
I think one of the strengths of RNG too is like I really like some of their drafts. The game 2 draft where that was the Gwen, Hecarim, Galio, Jinx, Leona game into the Ryze, Trundle, Gragas, Aphelios, Rakan. Like, I really like this draft against the short range comp that Top is running. I usually don't like Gwen, but against low mobility carries, I think Gwen can be quite strong. And so for this game, they have so much CC in order to empower the Gwen and the Jinx and like get on top of the carries that people will look at this game and like there are certainly big criticisms you can have of Top Esports, such as Knight was 5-0-3 at 8 minutes into this game and then just did nothing to create advantages with picks with Realm Warp. And they tried to fight the 5v5, which is really hard against RNG's composition with the composition that they had. But the draft was really good into Top's composition. And I think they played it out nicely despite the massive early game hole that they had. So I feel like, you know, these drafts are interesting for RNG. It's just that they themselves sometimes struggle in the early game, and it feels like a comeback scenario for them, and that Top Esports can't play out their compositions properly. So even though there have been early game struggles, I feel like RNG's awareness of compositional win conditions was much better than Top's in this series.
Yeah. Just to give a quick shout out then, the coaching staff there for them, Kenju and Tabe. Obviously Tabe he's been around back. He's back. He's back. He's still there. Kenju was one of the coaches on the coaching staff that won from EDG last year. EDG retained their head coach Mykles.
Tabe was on RNG all of last year. He just wasn't able to make the international tournaments because of visa stuff. So
Yeah.
he didn't actually make MSI, but he was there, listed as their coach at least.
So we've got ourselves 3 teams still left in the LPL. Dom, you've very much highlighted multiple times here the last 2 gauntlet runs, I guess the last 2 playoffs that since the LPL has implemented this style. A team that has come from the bottom side of the bracket eventually has won the finals. That, in this case, would be V5 because they lost that first match against Top Esports. They get the rematch here against Top Esports. The winner of that will play RNG in the finals. Who you got moving forward here with the matches coming up in a couple days here, the 20th and the 23rd of April?
I mean, I just hope that TS doesn't go internationally because I cannot watch TN run it down again under pressure. Like, please. I've seen this guy fucking run it down way too much. I just need like a break.
You also
At least
saw him win Worlds, so
yeah.
He was also maybe the best player on that team that won Worlds.
Well, maybe. I know he got finals MVP and stuff, but I always thought that was like a do and B team. Like, it's pretty hard to look bad as a jungler when your mid laner is literally just grouping with you from like 3 minutes on, where it's just like, oh, well, everything is just outnumbered because my mid laner literally
I'm
never
a do and
wins.
B hater, so you're never going to convince me of this, but okay.
Yeah. No,
I've always been do and B's number 1 hater. That's just
that's LS and Malice for sure. Like last Worlds, I think coming into that Worlds, they had him like 5th best mid going into that tournament, which is like pretty crazy considering that he had like a fucking insane MVP split. He was literally dicking everyone. And I would just guess that no one watched like him actually just play these games because that was probably the most impressive split we've ever seen.
I should say, like, I'm a reformed do and B hater because do and B reformed his play style where he could actually play normal shit and was doing really well last year. So I was much encouraged. I just didn't appreciate his weird niche picks in the same way that back in the day I also hated Messiah. So there you go.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing about his niche picks was they became like actually like every time that he picked something weird, it always had a purpose in the game. Like it wasn't like he would just pick weird stuff. And also I think the meta last summer, that was when Lee Sin mid was a huge thing. And that's just a fucking do and be champion right there. So like he was just popping off. Like he got like a fucking pentakill on Lee Sin mid. And like Silas was really prevalent on the meta up until World. So there was a lot of picks that just like, I mean, if we're talking about a melee mid meta, you're not going to find many players that are better than do and be at playing consistent melee mids. He just really understands like how to lose lane gracefully when he doesn't have range, like which CS to go for, which CS to give up, like all that type of stuff, where other mid laners just have an aneurysm anytime they have to give up like a melee minion. They're like, no, I'll lose my health bar here. Like, it's worth it. Like, I got one. Like, so yeah, I mean, I just can't watch TN go internationally again. I can't have confidence in this guy because like
he's very flippy.
I mean, but it's not even like like when he's good, he plays like a solid good jungle, but it's just he becomes another player when he's under pressure. Like 2 finals he choked in both finals last year and at Worlds. That's fucking crazy. Like that's like everything. Like he choked every single big moment that he had, and he got to go to like the biggest moments, like finals twice from the upper bracket too. Like I don't know. I'm just a TN hater. And yeah, I just think that there's more upside to V5 and RNG. I mean, I think that Rookie is like somebody who can just carry games against anyone in the world. And I think that RNG, it's like,
I mean, the fact that he's drawing Orianna bans in this meta is actually insane.
1, 2, 3 Orianna bans, not 4 or 5.
1, 2, 3 Orianna bans from the red side team onto blue side. Like that is crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, I just think that also RNG doesn't have to be this terrible at early game. Like there's times where they're not terrible at early game, and I think the fact that they're really good at other aspects of the game.
I mean, they could just tell Wei not to gank. That would probably help.
I mean, it's not even like it's just not even like it's not even about not ganking. It's just like read the situations. Like you know,
what he does, he'll just like run into the turret and like die. Like what he needs to do is just shadow lanes and just like be there in case something happens when his lane pushes out, but just don't commit to the fight unless they engage onto you. I actually think that would solve a lot of the problems.
I mean, he's a mechanic. Like the thing about Wei is like when he's at his best, he's a mechanically insane jungler. I mean. Like, look, you don't get to fucking be ranked 2 on the Korean ladder by being a fucking dog shit early game jungler. Like, that's just not how it works. I just think that in general, they're just not like they make their plan, and then it's like they're so ingrained in what the plan is that they don't take a second to just play the League of Legends that's on the screen. So like you can have like, oh, we have like bot push, so we can go for a dragon right now. But then if circumstances change, like your mid gets chunked or your bot can't move yet, like you don't have to fight every single time right there. You need to be able to like in the game call audibles and make decisions based off like the finer details, not just the overall like we've got bot and mid push and I'm good at taking Drake. We take Drake here, you know?
Okay.
Like,
I'm gonna counter this with something else, which is that I think like for me, one of the disturbing parts about top is that they invent new ways to lose, right? Which is like what I could like. If you look at the games they lost in the RNG series, they lost in very different ways in each of the games. They lost in game 2 because they couldn't translate an incredibly fed Rise into picks or side lane pressure. They lost in game 2 because they unnecessarily flipped a Baron and lost it to a way steal, and then the game snowballed against them. And then in the final game of the series, in game 4, they were getting antsy because they were concerned about the scaling of RNG's composition. They dive into the enemy base instead of taking objectives, all die, and then lose Baron. So, like, the number of mistakes that I see top making in different scenarios, different ways in the mid and late game is disturbing.
Or it's a lot of great learning lessons on what not to do next time because they are.
Okay, but dGon, here's the thing. That's great for next split. The problem is I tend to look at these games and think, who can fix these problems the fastest by the time the end of this week rolls around? And if you have this many problems as top, I'm not so confident. When I already see problems being mostly fixed on V5 by the time they play JDG, I have a lot more confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, also,
rookies,
I think
just draft PP got on those engages. That's it.
I mean, it's that, and then it's also just like you know what the general strategy is going to be, because literally top can't beat you if rookie gets like 3 or 4 champions. Like there's like some champions that if rookie plays them, you just can't win. So like it's so hard for TS to adapt in their prep, unless their prep is just going to be like, we've suddenly learned how to lane against like Orianna or something, and like or like Ahri is not that big of a deal for rookie to play anymore. I mean, that's pretty much the conditions that you know you're going into. So I think it's so much easier for V5 to prep because they got beat one way. Like there was only one way to actually defeat them. And then whenever they got standard games, like the first 2 games, I mean, rookie just looked really fucking good. And even though they probably should have lost that game too, yeah, I think that they'll be able to fix it.
So let's say V5 wins, you take V5 over RNG.
Look, all I know is this: with the most recent available evidence, having watched all of these games, the most recent available evidence we have is top should have won every single game in a 4-game series. And how many times does a team win 4 games but lose a series 3-1? That almost never happens. Usually, if you win 4 games, you would maybe win 3-2. Like this is very, very unusual that you would have these level of leads or these level of advantages and you would actually lose this series in 4 games. The other thing is that the latest available evidence on the V5 side was that rookie was still drawing 1 million bans. They were actually fixing many of the mistakes that they played against top. They seemed like they had a definitive way they wanted to play the game, and that way was very effective. And we didn't see a team be able to ban them out of playing that way, right? So if they can play their way and even under the heavy pressure of all these bans on rookie, then I think you could feel pretty confident, because over the course of the series, what's going to happen is if they keep losing to that, then eventually some of those rookie bans are going to get dropped, and then rookie's going to play one of those champions and he's going to destroy them. So I think it's very difficult to see how top like wins that matchup in spite of them winning it before, just because it was very depressing to watch them throw so many games.
Yep.
All right. Well, there you guys have it at home. You've got Top Esports trying to do what FPX back in 2021 wanted to do, which was make it all the way to the finals and finish it off as a 5th seed. So they would be the first team not seeded in the top 4 to win. And then you've got the regular season number 1 in V5, regular season number 2 in RNG, waiting in their wings. V5 just an interesting roster because they're the only roster that has that's not true because Tabe's from Hong Kong, but for RNG, but they're the only ones still with imports. So the other imports with Rich, Karsa, Rookie, Nofe, the coach, and Zero, the coach as well. So V5 a little bit more international flavor.
Well, V5 has to win because Koreans are just the reason why China wins. Even though somehow there's like Koreans in Korea. I don't know how the math works out, all right? But all I know is the only reason that LPL is winning is because they have Koreans. So that's that.
Too much Reddit for you, Dom.
Yeah, I haven't completely figured out that argument, but we'll get there eventually.
All right. Those matches will happen starting April 20th at 2 a.m. and then the finals April 23rd at 2:30 a.m. all times Pacific. Adjust to your own risk. Okay. It's time now for everyone's favorite segment. It's LCS time. Well, I guess maybe not favorite. Just most polarizing segment. Let's go there. We had our upper bracket semifinals. Yeah, our upper bracket semifinals and our elimination quarterfinals, I guess. Lower bracket quarterfinals, where we had Cloud9 up against Evil Geniuses and 100 Thieves and Team Liquid. Let's start with the Cloud9 stuff first. It was a quick series. Evil Geniuses dispatched Cloud9 3-0. I was there in the media room. It was
the media room, dGon. What was the vibe of the media room?
The vibe in the media room was like,
if it had an aura, what color would the aura of the media room be?
The aura would have been deep blue. Evil Geniuses blue, because it was just depressing that everyone was going through this, slightly hopeful that maybe Cloud9 could have made V5-esque changes towards the draft with bans going towards one player and then maybe not drafting that the same way that you did when you lost beforehand, and just seeing it happen over and over again was just kind of bewildering and mostly depressing for people that wanted to see a good series. Not necessarily want to see Cloud9 win, but just want to see a good series. And we got none of that. We got a good dose of what we thought we would see in that first game. It was, it's 0-7 Summit. Dying again. There he is. Cloud9 not in position to capitalize anywhere. I wonder what these comms look like. I wonder if they're depressed. I wonder. There's just a lot of wondering and no answers. And that was.
You didn't get any insight into talking to the team at all? Any of your interviews?
So we did. Got to chat with Fudge afterwards, and I asked for Fudge and Summit, and I was like, they're gonna give me Fudge, aren't they? Yeah, they're. It was enough so that I knew that they would give me someone. And Fudge he did not throw anyone under the bus. He did say that they needed to what did he say? He said we needed to weight the fact that these ganks on the top side are punishable more in our practice. We needed to do that, and we didn't. We saw that this was happening all season, and it didn't matter because he was smashing lane. But then when we took away smashing lane, that was still there. Everyone figured it out. We knew it was a problem too, but it feels like we didn't weight it enough in our practice. He said they liked their drafts, which I thought was crazy. And
well, at least somebody did,
well, I mean, you can read through the lines there because because when Fudge says that they like the drafts, at least in the previous interviews that I've seen, he's like, as a team, we decided that the drafts were good, which is like, what the fuck does that mean, motherfucker?
Yeah.
What
it was a lot of that.
Fudge, you tell me, does Fudge like the drafts? That's the question.
Yeah. He's like, well, like, there's no I in team, and Fudge is a member of Cloud9.
3 out of 5 Cloud9 members agreed in Korean that these drafts were good.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's really strange. It's really strange to me just looking at the drafts and then like wondering why the coaching staff pretty much just failed to align the team's vision into what like they think, right? Because I think one of the huge aspects of coaching is being able to like get people to buy into your philosophy and be able to like know what you need to say and, motivate people to play the way you want and do things the way you want it. And it feels like the C9 coaching staff, like even when you hear like Vagar talk on stream, it's like, are any of these people actually like good people leaders, or are they just smart at the game? Like, is Vagar and Max Water, are they just smart at the game, or do they actually have like coaching experience? Do they know coaching philosophy? Do they read books from like great coaches and try to figure out what their shortcomings are in terms of getting the team to see the game the way that they want to see it? It feels like there's a disconnect there, because I mean, essentially what I'm getting from it is that like, no, Vigar V2 doesn't like the drafts, Fudge doesn't like the drafts. The fucking Koreans like the draft because the mentality is, oh, would T1 win this game? Like, would T1 win this game with this draft? And it's like, oh, well, you know, probably. Like, probably they would win this game. So then it's not a draft issue. We should just play better. That's what LS said verbatim on his stream. And I would guess that, you know, from being within the team, he probably has a pretty good fucking idea as to what's going on in terms of the way they think. But like, you have a full split. Like, as a coach, why is this still happening at playoffs? Like, shouldn't this be like something that maybe happens like earlier on through the split and then you're able to correct it? Like, look, we've seen coaches in professional sports have to deal with like way more fucking crazy problems than maybe like a difference of opinion of draft in a video game, right? Like, you hear some Phil Jackson stories. It's crazy.
Yeah, yes, Tom, but also Phil Jackson was not 21 years old trying to be a head coach. Like, exactly. And it's not a reflection on Max Waldo, who was not intending to be in this position. So don't go and trash him, guys. But I do think that there's having such a young head coach is when you don't have a lot of life experience or, you know, maturity to deal with the, you know, highly emotionally charged situations. It can be hard. I think it can be very hard.
I mean, it just feels like the way that the conversations probably go are just based off like gameplay. It's like, here is why I think what I think. And it's like, there has to be something else that you can say to like Summit or Berserker or Winsome as like a human that will get them to buy into what you're saying outside. And like, they have translated, like Revan is there with them all the time, right? And Revan speaks fluent Korean. So there should be like a way that they can get the players to buy in. But yeah, I mean, that's just one of the things that I see as lacking within C9. It feels like they have like a lot of like smart people about the game, but I just don't know which one of them will actually lead the team, like, and bring people together.
You got to be a leader of men in a difficult situation, and right now you have a lot of great minds of the game, but not. So I think that's a difficult position to be in, and it felt like it was on full display. One thing that Fudge did say was that he felt like Game 3's draft was the most playable and felt like the most, the one where they had the biggest amount of leeway, and that felt most execution. He didn't feel too bad about Game 2, though.
I mean, I think the Game 3 draft was also... I think it was all their drafts, I think, were problematic. Like, my question about the Game 3 draft is, like, how do you ever kill Zeri with Cloud9's composition? It's extremely difficult to chase this Zeri down, even if you have a really good TF port into the back line. Locking her down long enough to deal the damage to kill her is really hard with their comp. And they gave up the Zeri every single game, which I think was extremely predictable if you're EG, because they love to play either Zeri or Jinx. Like, they're locked into, in these playoffs, these scaling lanes. So they knew they were going to first pick Zeri. And in my mind, if you know they're going to do that, you better have options for locking down the Zeri, and they didn't have options. So I question... they themselves were banning Nautilus, which is confusing if you know that this is going to be the scenario that unfolds when they're going to take the Zeri, right? At least give yourself some more opportunities to try and counter it. So, I mean, maybe he's happy with it. I personally wouldn't be very happy with it, because as soon as Zeri starts to get into the late game...
It's the most playable. Like, that doesn't mean he's happy with it. He says,
that's fair. Playable. That's fair. We can parse his language. I guess technically that's true. It was the most playable. I actually think their Game 2 draft was technically the most playable, but Summit getting behind basically just nukes their ability to play this composition.
Well, I mean, it was Summit getting behind and Victor getting an evolution at level 5 or 6 or something like that, just super early on.
Well, look, here's the thing. When you look, like, Fudge has been on a lot of co-streams of LS, right? Like, Max Waldo is literally just a mini LS. Like if you ever, I mean, I literally had draft discussions in voice comms during Worlds where we were on both sides of things, and you could just tell based off like the verbiage that he was using that he literally at that point last year in October saw the game the same way as LS. Viger V2, you can tell based off what he's saying when he talks to LS, was aligned with LS on a lot of the things that LS was saying about why the drafts are bad. Like the Kali on 4 in game 1 was like so fucking out of place. Like it was just mind blowing that happened, right? So if you have all these people with their idea of the game, they must think these drafts are shit. But of course, right? So then that means that they completely capitulated and just let the people on the team, whoever was right, I don't know where Blabber stands. He's kind of in the middle, but it's like it looks like there's like a division between like the Koreans and then like the LS.
Here's what we know. I agree with you, Dom. The only logical conclusion is that considering that all of these people align with LS's views on the game, unless one of them has gone rogue, which I doubt,
yeah,
then they must disagree with these drafts. Ergo, there is a terrorist inside Cloud9 holding the team hostage.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, okay. That's a way to word it.
It's at least one of the players. I think that's the natural.
They make it sound like Summit.
All this.
They make it sound like Summit has a different.
They make it sound
opinion.
like Summit, but it could be. This is like a game of Mafia where you're trying to figure out who's killing people, but we don't exactly know.
We can get.
We have strong guesses.
it's one of two people, right? Because Winsome isn't even on the team anymore, right? So that means it either has to be Berserker or Summit. But when you look at all the champions that are being played, the drafts are never weird because of what Berserker plays. It's always what Summit is playing that makes it. It's like the Renekton, right? It was like the Jason to the Orin Nocturne. It's always Summit's pick that's fucking weird.
What about the sneaky Blabber? You don't think it's that?
No, I don't think it's that.
So it's like, Summit is the most sus right now, right?
I mean, it has to. Like, I don't know. Okay, so
in the Among Us Cloud9 edition.
Yes, I'm voting Summit every time. I don't care what he says.
You're throwing Summit out the airlock?
Yes, I'm fucking shooting him straight out that airlock like every single time.
I agree. I also vote Summit out the Cloud9 airlock.
Okay, but here's the question. Does that mean that they actually vote him off the airlock, literally? Meaning, like, is he going to end up on a different team next split?
100%.
You think he's done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, it wouldn't be the first time Jack kicked an MVP off his roster, a reigning MVP.
So yeah. I couldn't bring myself to ask like, hey, you kicking Summit? So the way that I asked it was,
so dGon, you have not voted Summit out of the airlock. Are you a Summit collaborator trying to cover up for him?
I just hold on. I'm giving more context. I asked Fudge. This is how I played Among Us anyways. I wait till the end. I asked Fudge, will we see Fudge in the mid lane next split? Will we see Fudge in the mid lane next split? Because there's talk about him going back up there. He's getting a lot of flack, and so he said, "Oh yeah, I intend on it. I love playing mid lane. I think so." And so it was like, cool. He answered that one pretty quickly, and after that, I was like, I couldn't ask like, hey, what do you think the roster is going to be next split? Because they have like a bunch of different people. Ven's also sitting on the bench somewhere, just hanging out. So I was like, there's way too many iterations for him to give me a straight answer without like straight incriminating somebody. So yes, I'm also on the Summit.
Emergency meeting take too long. Okay, so you are voting him out of the airlock.
It's just crazy to think how far someone fell from MVP form to crap
like in 3 weeks.
It's 3 or 4 weeks. That's it.
Well, he's sabotaging the fucking spaceship, dude. Sometimes you just have to get rid of him.
But like, is that actually the thing, or do they need like a different head coach? Like, does somebody else become the head coach that can actually like do the job? Because, look, I mean, maybe like if Summit is actually that difficult to work with, where it's like he just refuses to compromise at all, then I guess you have to do that. But like for me, I think the thing that's so weird is that every time you hear like Max or Veigar or like Fudge talk, it's like they want to play both sides. They don't want to seem like the bad guy, but at the same time they don't want to say that they actually like believe in anything that the team is doing, which is just like so what the fuck? Like, how, like it can't
Yeah,
be
they shit
both,
on
right?
what the team is doing, right?
Yeah,
Well,
it's
I
your
mean-
team. It's your
Well, it's just like-
team.
I don't know what's
it's
going
like-
on over there. It's fucking weird.
It's super weird. It's super weird. It's like you can't just like keep your viewpoint publicly and be like, this is what I think, and then like it not be fucking awkward. Well, it's like, well, shit, like you didn't do anything of what you just told me. So like, I mean, you had a change of heart. You every time I've talked to you before, you've said that Renekton is a piece of shit champion, and especially right now after like Gore Drinkers got changed and Renekton got nerfed a while back, whatever, and champion meta change like. So Renekton was a shit champion then when it was like super high presence around the world and it was actually looking, but now when it looks terrible every time someone picks it, now it's a good champion. Like I can't believe it. Like to me, it's just like, come on, man. Like you can't have both. You can't have both. So to me, it just seems like they just refuse to like challenge Summit in terms of what they want him to pick. And I guess at the end of the day, it is his pick, but you can't just throw your hands up and be like, well, what can I do, man? Like, if my top laner doesn't want to play it, he doesn't want to play it. Like, there has to be critical thinking. There has to be steps you can take to actually get people on board. I just don't believe that it's an unfixable problem, that Summit is like that much of a fucking, like, I don't know, just he's that impossible to deal with that, that you can. And like, if that is the case, then you literally should have benched him like after week 1 of playoffs, not brought in fucking Darshan and Isles. Like if it's actually that severe, where you can't, because you're not coming close to winning this series, right? So if it actually is that much of an issue, then you have to fucking make the hard roster change and bench Summit before you get into the lower bracket. So,
Oh man.
Well, it's too late,
I mean,
Dom. We already threw him into space, so he's gone.
Yeah, he's gone. We'll find
I
out.
can't, no,
It was actually Isles. That would have been great.
It was the big brain Isles getting on.
it was actually Blabber. Blabber just loves playing with Renekton, so he was afraid to tell Fudge to play Renekton because Fudge was a lot bigger, but he thought he could actually take Summit in a fight potentially. So they able to get him. Get him to do
How many Blabbers do you think it would take to fight Fudge? Like at least 3.
like
Three.
Definitely. That's just a number.
I'm a big guy, and standing next to Fudge, I'm just like, you are so big. He's such a tall dude, and he fits within that form-fitting Puma tracksuit every time. I'm like, how does this work? All right.
He's the mountain, man.
Okay, so let's cut it here, or not cut, but we're gonna basically bring.
Wait, what
in
about
Steve. You can
EG? What
finish-
about
we'll finish talking about EG afterwards. We'll finish talking because Steve's ready now, I think.
EG is really good. We got to give them credit. We don't want to be shitting on C9 the whole time, guys.
Joining us for the first time ever, we're getting an owner as a guest on the Jungle. It is Big Steve from Team Liquid, co-CEO of Team Liquid. Welcome to the show, man. How's it going? How's this year been for you?
Things are good. Thanks for having me on. It's good to see you, Dom, Monty. It's been a minute. Yeah, things are good, man. Oh, sorry. I apologize.
Thanks, Steve.
We just don't know each other the same way. I mean, I lived with
All
Dom
right.
for like years.
That's
So,
true. That's true. All right. The pizza store. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, but no, things are good this year. We put together a pretty good roster, made some investments in the off season, and panned out so far with the lock-in win, and then placing first in the regular season. And we lost our game against 100 Thieves the other day, but it's not over yet.
Yeah. Let's go back into this roster creation first. The super
Tell me.
team
Here's
and all
the story. Here's the story I want to hear. What was the process of wooing Bjergsen? Did you have to write him? Did you go through the typical measures of like writing him poetry, sending him flowers to bring him into the Team Liquid fold? How did you get him to break up with TSM? Were you just so much hotter? Like, how did this happen?
Well, so let me just give my prediction first. So I think that Steve probably just showed up with just a piece of paper, and on the piece of paper was the TSM roster that he would have been playing with. If he stayed with TSM.
And also
He just showed
a
it to
number of the amount of money he could make on Team Liquid.
Yeah. He was just like, here, this is, no, it doesn't even need the money. It's just, this is what you would have to play with if you don't join TL. Oh, and by the way, we have Hansama, Core JJ, Bwipo, like world champion, like people that have done well at Worlds. Hansama, one of the best Western players at Worlds last year. Bwipo, somebody who did well at Worlds for years, made even a final. Like, I think it was a pretty easy decision if you're motivated to win, which I know Bjergsen.
You know, Steve being from the finance world as well, probably he was just like, look, man, you know, this Reggie news is about to break. Here's the valuation of your TSM stock. It's just like, you know, down and to the right.
You better sell and leave at the same time, right?
Hey.
Sell at the peak, Bjerg said. Sell at the peak.
Yeah, sell high. No, for real. I mean, I think our time in League of Legends has really set a precedent that we are here to win. I think that's been from the jump. We have always tried to build competitive rosters, and we've built more competitive rosters when budgets increased. And I think we've done a pretty damn good job of selling sponsorships. I don't know if this is true, but I think we probably have the top sponsorship revenue of any other esports team in the world for probably, I don't know, 5 years running. So, you know, we have bigger budgets to put together competitive rosters in a lot of different games. So I think, you know, when shit was going down at TSM, and I don't know the specifics associated with it, he wanted to go and talk to other teams. And when he was granted permission to go and do that, he reached out to me and we talked a little bit about what the roster might look like. That was dovetailing from a conversation that Jensen and Bjergsen were having about having a role swap situation happen and have Jensen go and play AD under the condition that Bjergsen would come in and play mid. And so we were leaning into those conversations, and that was actually going to be close to what the roster was going to end up being. And when Hans became an option, it was like, well, oh shit. Like,
Jensen got the ultimate betrayal. He was like,
I hope you enjoy streaming.
I would play with you, but also Hansama's I'm going to go with that. So goodbye.
I mean, it was a little awkward, yes, but I mean, it definitely.
I don't blame you. That was the correct decision to make, but Jensen did he played himself.
Yeah, but I mean, this is the thing though. Like, all of these conversations are out in the open. Like, you know, we're super transparent. We're talking about what this is going to be, and you know, it's like, well, are we a more competitive roster with option A or option B? And so, you know, in tried and true TL fashion, we built to win. So we put together the best roster that we can. And so when that started to formulate and things were close, then I needed to substantiate the business case associated with doing a larger investment into League of Legends. And then with Worlds coming up and being in North America and our sponsorships were doing really well, and we were going to do some additional sales because you've got Mexico City and San Francisco and Madison Square Gardens, and you know, like, oh, we can do on-site activations, we can earn additional revenue there, we can offset that with the cost of doing the roster. You know, this is probably a year we want to go bigger. And then at the same time, there were other, you know, there were top spenders in the league who were divesting in League of Legends and pulling back after having spent a considerable amount and being like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, this isn't working out as we had planned. And so we felt like, hey, let's strike while it's hot. Like, some of the other teams are divesting, let's invest. And this is a good year to do it. So it made good business sense. So both on the financial side and putting the roster together. And Bjergsen, you love the roster, right? He's like, if I'm going to come back from coaching, I want to fucking win. So, yeah.
I like how different that is from when I played, where it was like, okay, Dom, we can offer you 5 candy bars and a mouse pad, and I'm like, perfect. You know what? I'll play for 3. Like,
and you could you were living in like the cursed CEO's like apartment in San Francisco.
Oh, their apartments. Right? Like, I was never a fan of. No, I wasn't. I never lived there. I lived in the house in Vegas, which was really nice, and then I moved to the apartments in. Is it? I don't even know if it's technically Santa Monica. It's like West LA, but it's I lived there for a little bit.
Yeah. Kind of, it's technically Santa Monica, but it's like right next to the highway. It was so funny.
It's some hood shit.
I remember like Mike, who at the time was their COO, and he was like, Steve, like, we're right next to the highway, and you know, it's not a really nice area. Like, you know, we should call the cops on all these homeless folks that are hanging around the apartments. And I was like, Mike, I was like, they're keeping the prices down. It's just like they're nice people. Just like chill.
Yeah. No, it was. Look, I remember it was like there was so many homeless because the other thing is it's really close to like the like a veterans hospital, and people know about how veterans hospitals work. Like normally there's a lot of homeless people that surround them. So like I just knew all the homeless people. I was just cool with all the homeless people. Like they didn't fuck with me. I didn't fuck with them. I like talked to them by name. Like if I had like extra food or something, I would hook them up with it. Like it built character. You know. It built character.
Good guy, Dom.
Being
my favorite memory of the apartment you didn't live in, Dom. I didn't know if you were part of that one or not. Was the activation you guys did back in the day with the always on cameras in that apartment, so that I could watch Saint Vicious and Elements yelling at each other. That was we missed that content. For those of you who don't know, they literally just put a bunch of cameras inside where they lived and just left them on the entire time, and it was fucking hilarious.
Like even while they were sleeping and stuff, it was like it was a little over.
It was like this is a little bit of an invasion of privacy. Like, can I please like not be on camera for like? What I remember there was one time where like Saint almost started having sex on camera. That's like he was on the edge of it. He like thought that he was safe, and then like finally like somebody told him like somebody like was like yo like just fuck like a little bit to the right, and he was just with the girl. He's like, oh shit, like, he just like just inch out of the fucking frame. Like it was some good times, man. It was some good times.
What, given all these different great memories that we have, what do you think is one of the worst ideas that you had that you were able to pivot away from, and you know now you look back on and you're able to laugh about it?
You mean in terms of roster building?
No, in terms in terms of like you know being an org leader, being in the space, yeah.
Having to pivot on something. I mean, related to League of Legends, promotion relegation was pretty tough, man. Like we had our backs against the wall. LCS was about to be formed. We figured, if we don't win in this promotion relegation, we're going to have to pay more money to get into a permanent franchise position. It's going to cost millions of dollars in a market where investment was like just starting to happen in esports. It wasn't kind of full force. So, you know, raising capital was going to be an issue. And yeah, I mean, that's when everything happened with like bringing in Doublelift as a mercenary to come and save the team in promotion relegation, and Midlit, and you know, moving.
I agree that was ethically questionable, Steve. The Doublelift.
I mean, I don't know if it's ethically. I mean, there are rules associated with the league, and I am following the rules. And
Look, man, I was also following the rules when I took CLG out of the LCS to bring them to Korea for a boot camp and put Hotshot GG back in the roster. I was technically following the rules. However, I would not, in retrospect, say that was ethically the best thing to do.
Oh, that was perfect for us. You guys went to Korea, got worse somehow, and then we got to beat you guys in a series. So I was chilling. You know,
we won that series. I think we did.
Yeah, we won that series
because the players didn't practice what we played in Korea. It was brilliant. The whole thing was brilliant.
Yeah, it was great. Well, look, my favorite part of being with Curse was during the season. Like we kind of came to Steve had already came to the conclusion that like the Saint, like the dynamic with Saint and the players didn't want to play with Saint, right? And I was like already living in the house, and I was already like I was banned at the time, but I was gonna be available for next year, so I already was going to be on the main team. And then I had to watch the team get fucking relegated. So I had to play for 4 months. Like this was the most stressful time of my entire life because relegations didn't happen immediately after summer split. They happened December 22nd. I still remember the date because it was like that fucking crazy. So you had to practice on like off-season patches. You know, like how crazy off-season patches were from August to December to then play your relegation matches. And that was just going to determine like whether you got to keep your LCS spot or not. So that was fucking great. I love just like watching the team. I'm like, nice, this team is doing great. They're like first in the regular season. How could this go? And then suddenly it's like, fuck, they got relegated. Fuck. Like, why did I choose to be on this team? Like, almost ruined my life. But you know, it was okay. You know, everything worked out in the end. So it ended up being good.
Yeah,
good times, Steve.
A great thing to get rid of there, Steve. Let's focus back onto this season. You had the regular season go down. You guys end up being one of the top teams along with Cloud9. And I kind of then let's look at not only this regular season, but also this last playoff series. This playoffs, you get pushed to the brink by evil geniuses, and then you drop the series against 100 Thieves. Was this something that surprised y'all, or is this something that you're like, okay, either we fell behind or the gap's closing, whether it's because they got better or we got worse?
Yeah, I mean, I think the EG series was not a surprise. I think most of us as coaches were like, look, this could go either way. Like, based on how we've scrimmed them in the past and how they're playing, it comes down to a few things about their play, which I won't get into because we have to play them again. But we're like, okay, this is going to be close. So that wasn't a surprise, and I think they pushed us as a team, and I thought that was a great series. I think EG showed up, like they were competitive. I thought they played pretty well, so that was good. The 100 Thieves series,
I have a question on that series first. How much did it cost to get them to draft Nidalee Renekton in Game 5? Just wondering.
Oh my God, what was that? That was. I guess he thought he was Canyon or something. He's like just gonna pull it off.
Canyon didn't even win that game. So
yeah,
like,
what are you
Canyon's
talking
not
about?
winning that. Who is
He's like, I'm gonna do better than him. So
okay, I'm better than Canyon. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that was a good series. And then when we played 100 Thieves, I thought, based on scrims, like, oh, this is gonna be a good series. Like, hopefully 3-0, 3-1. The guys had a lot of confidence. I feel like we match up well against them, and then some poor ban pick, I'd say, which made the games really difficult. Yeah.
Dom.
Yeah, ban Ornn, please. That's all I gotta say is like Ornn seems pretty fucking good. And I'm just tired of watching Ornn just win like some days like 7 wins, 1 loss on Ornn or something just in the playoffs. Like it's just one of those picks where I feel like no one wants to ban Ornn because I think it hurts your top laner's ego most of the time. Like most top laners just want to play against it. Oh, it'll be fine. Like, look, Ornn's not going to win them the game. As long as we do well elsewhere, like it'll be okay. And then you just see the Ornn get like 1 kill. Suddenly he's just unkillable for the rest of the game. He's frontlining, engaging, just doing everything. And, you just wonder what the fuck happened to Ornn for the last like 5 weeks or 6 weeks because champion hasn't changed. Champion hasn't changed in a while. So it doesn't seem like many people are playing like counter picks actually in North America. It feels like people just play like just even lanes. And when that's the case, I think Ornn just becomes really, really ridiculous. So
yeah, I think Ornn's just really strong. It's like one of those times, and Dom, this, like you're playing in a team, you practice a bunch of champions to counter Ornn, like whether it's lane matchups or it's team fight composition or whatever it is, you have a certain result in scrims where you develop a level of confidence based on what you play, and then you try it out and shit's just not working, right? And like the champion's still relevant. I mean, we tried to pull through the Braum pick, which a lot of people probably like, well, what the fuck? Why Braum? like out of nowhere. And we're like, cancels the Ornn ult and maybe. So I think we're maybe overthinking it a bit. It's like, okay, you underestimate the priority of a particular champion, and every team has a priority list of like what it is, and then as you get into the series, that priority changes a little bit based on the matchup. So I think that was definitely part of it.
I think right now when I'm watching Pro League, it feels like a lot of teams are drafting in ways where it's like you want to be like, the point of your draft is to give yourself the best chance to win and the other team's like worst chance to win. But I feel like they're not really maximizing how hard they could screw over another team in draft. And this is like around the world. So many times where I'm just like, just ban the champions that they're good at. Like you don't need to beat them at their best. Like you can beat them at their worst. Like that's a perfectly fine and valid way to win a championship. So like I'm super down for like really just banning teams out. And hey, look, C9 didn't do it either, and now they got 3-0'd. Like they didn't want to ban the Ornn either. So is what it is. Well, they banned it in game 3, but first 2 games they didn't ban it.
Monty, it looked like you had something that you wanted to say there.
I wanted to ask a different question if we're done with this line. I'm curious about the hiring of Guilhoto during the offseason, because he behind the scenes, Guilhoto is I don't know how many fans know this, but he's usually a very well respected coach, like a great emotional manager, seen as very good at developing players historically. But this is a very different kind of team where he's, I think, for the first time interacting with a significant number of veteran players or like an entirely veteran roster, which is really different to what he's done in the past. So first off, why did you want him as the head coach in this situation? And also, what do you think his value is in this situation?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll go back and I'll talk a little bit about, we had Kane originally, where we had a bunch of championship wins, and I think Kane was very much he knew the game. He could talk about the game. He had respect from the players, but he lacked a little bit with like leadership and kind of motivation and kind of more of that part of coaching, the mental part of coaching, not just the in-game analytical part of coaching and understanding. So that was what was great about Kane. And then we got into Jat, who was kind of the opposite, right? Like was good with leading meetings, and he was good at managing people. He could handle some of the business side of like, hey, let me assign responsibility to the head analyst or the junior analyst to go and do this project, and let me use my assistant coach and put them on this. So that kind of the management aspect of head coaching, he was excelling in. And he also did a good job of like recruiting and changing his team. And it was almost like the business of coaching that he was really good at. But when it came to some of the in-game conversations with experienced players, if you don't have that level of respect from certain players, you just lose it, right? And then the players aren't going to kind of follow direction when it comes to in-game stuff. And I think when we had this roster, we thought, okay, well, we got a bunch of experienced guys, and most of the conflict is probably going to come not from attitude issues or somebody, not being as passionate about the game, immaturity. It's going to be just facilitating conversation and being productive. And so we thought he was going to be good at doing that based on him interviewing with us. And it's turned out to be true. I mean, what's different about this roster in comparison to other ones is that the guys get into a room and they have a conversation, they have differences of opinion, and they come out the other side respecting each other. They're able to communicate, and nobody's losing that will to win. There's no like issues, so to speak. Like typically there's an issue with a particular player or a dynamic between two players. Like that doesn't exist. So it's just talking about the game all the time. And he's doing less of like, oh, play this way. This is the right way to macro the game, or we want to do this. It's more facilitating conversations between the players so that they come to a conclusion or consensus on how they want to play the game. So I think
this is similar to what Revenge has said to me about Guilhoto as a coach, and his strength is that he really like helps you arrive at your own conclusions about the game, and that he is much more of a kind of Socratic method teacher, in a way. So I know we're not going to get in as much as I would like to. I know you're not going to get into the whole what happened last year scenario. So I'm going to creatively ask a different question, Steve, which is as follows. Now, I think it's obvious Jat has a good level of game knowledge because of the comments that he makes on the broadcast. So like I think that with certain players, it can be hard to encourage them that you may know different things than those players know. Let's put it that way, or you have different knowledge sets about the game. What do you think would happen if Jat was your coach this year as opposed to last year?
he would be way more successful this year.
Okay. So you guys interpret that as you want. I just think that's a creative way to discuss this issue.
Yeah, and that was kind of close to what my question was, Monty, which was like, why do you think there are no conflicts with this roster? What makes this composition of players, coach, staff so unique compared to every other time that every other team that think they've got it down, including you guys, didn't quite have that? What makes this one so special to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think the quality of the players is really high. I think their ceiling is really high. I'm not just saying this, but like you'll listen to scrims and it feels like they're playing on stage. Everyone is super try hard. They're communicating. nobody's checked out. Like everyone is fully fucking present during scrims, and I've never seen that before. Honestly, like usually you have 4 out of the 5 or 2 out of the 5, or like, something is holding back scrims from being effective. And when the guys are done with scrims, it's not just they're tired, they're like, oh my gosh, like we just put everything into that last block. Like I don't know how to say it. Like everybody's super try hard. Like everyone wants to win. Everyone is pushing themselves as hard as they possibly can. Like I have no doubt that they're leaving everything during every day of scrims without having to be told any of that. Like they're self-motivated. That's what's different about this roster, and kind of what is partly exciting when I like watch the scrims and see them practice and stuff. It's a different vibe. Oh, and also too, like when we go to dinners and hang out, like nobody's looking at their phone, which is really atypical. Usually players are like playing games and like chatting or talking to people. I don't know. They're just like not paying attention. They're not present. Like, these guys are just present. They're talking. They're hanging out all the time. I'm not just saying that. It's for real. Like they'll go to dinner and they'll hang out with each other. They're not like disconnect. It sounds so weird, but it's like a big deal, I think.
Imagine being socially well-adjusted and a professional player. What a world we live in.
Well, I have a question for you, Steve, because like I obviously played for Curse/Team Liquid for years, and I got to see the first coach that we ever had. I don't know if you remember Roman as a coach. Oh, that's the reaction I wanted right there. So how does Guilhoto compare to Roman as a coach?
Wait, who's Roman? I actually don't have this one logged in the.
No one knows who Roman is. I lived with the guy. I still don't know. He said maybe 5 words the entire time he was our coach. So look, just so everyone's on the same page. So Roman was a guy that was hired to be our coach. He gave like a really big speech to us. Like this is when you'd interview like online, right? And because like getting people to come into your organization, it's not like everyone was localized within LA. So
right.
He did an interview and he was like, I'm going to be the enforcer, man. I'm going to come in there. I'm going to crack some skulls. And then it was like, damn, this is what we need. We need somebody who's actually going to like get us on track and be and get us focused and motivated to win the games. So everything sounded great. He came to LA to be our coach. And the first 3 weeks, he didn't say one word. And his mentality was like, before I can coach, I have to observe. And he would just sit in a director's chair on his phone the entire time that we scrimmed and just do nothing. Like he wouldn't give us any feedback after the game. He would just observe for 3 weeks, and then Steve fired him, and we all wanted him fired. We're like, this guy, like, this is just awkward, man. This guy's just watching us. I think he's gonna kill us, Steve. Please fire him. So I just wanted to.
I'd say there's a big difference between then and now. Yeah. Okay. It's kind of interesting. You interview folks and you get a vibe and you think, and stuff turns out to be different than what you expect sometimes. Yeah.
So you're saying if you haven't met somebody in person, but you interview them online to be the head coach of your team, sometimes they're different than the online interview.
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if C9 knew that.
Oh my God.
Somewhere I didn't know we were going.
We trapped him.
Oh my God, that was a banger.
Incriminating C9.
That was not good.
We just walked into that trap. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
I did. I definitely did. Steve, all right. I think our time's coming to an end here. I kind of wanted to ask like any final thoughts, final words. Obviously, Worlds here in North America. You guys have put a big investment. What do you want to leave us with here on the jungle?
Yeah, it's been good to be here, just hang out a little bit. It's been a minute since we last chatted, so thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, I think we're in it to win it. We're not going to be satisfied unless we're winning a championship here in spring, and our eyes are on that, and then winning another one, and then going to Worlds. So hopefully we can pull it off in 2 games in Houston, and then head to MSI, and we'll see how we do. So excited for that.
I have a final question here, because we've talked about TL a lot on the show, and I mean, we obviously, when you see the roster that you've put together, the standards that we've put on it is like winning spring, winning summer, and then like top 8 to top 4 at Worlds, depending on your bracket, is like what should be expected. Do you think that's fair?
I do. Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, one can be scared of high expectations, but I think it comes with the territory of trying to win. And we're not going to check the box. We're going to build competitive rosters and the games that we participate in. And this year was a year that we have high expectations. Yeah, it comes with the territory. So if we don't, then we'll have failed. But that's not going to deter us from building a roster that can do really well. Like we shouldn't have our best performance being at MSI internationally. We need to do well at Worlds. So this is a year, hopefully we do it.
There you go, Monte. Any final question?
What changes are you making to your CS:GO roster?
Yeah, I can't tell you.
Leads the flip on that one. Perfect.
All right, Big Steve, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on and making time
Yeah.
on your busy day, and best of luck for the rest of this league team and the rest of the whole esports calendar year.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. Bye, guys.
Cool to have Big Steve to come on the show and chat, reminisce about good old times, hopefully future good times. And, he set the expectation pretty high about all the success there. And we here on our show, we like to talk about success, not too much though. Otherwise, we won't get the interaction on Reddit and Twitter that we normally get about never saying anything good.
But it starts
we only
with
do
success.
Starts with success.
We don't start with success though, because we know where that leads. A loss, right?
Yeah.
Jeez.
I feel a lot better when you start with the negativity. Like, let me tell you, like I've started doing my predictions off negativity. They're way better than they were when I was actually doing them off like raw analysis. Like, trust me, this weekend I was like, TL shouldn't lose to 100 Thieves. When you look at the roster and like how they play, there's really no edge that 100 Thieves have. And I was like, I caught myself. I had the hope. I believed in NA for a second. I was like, 100 Thieves 3-2. I just sniped that one quickly. And it's better when you just predict off just like feeling rather than actually using your brain.
Thanks, guys.
But not for the fans, only for Dom, because he has cultivated his gut instinct over a number of years. You're just a TSM fan. That's the difference, guys.
For me, it's actually more that just like I've just experienced so much disappointment in North America that like I will always find a way for myself to be even more disappointed, because I normally set the expectations like pretty low. Like for me, it's like, top 4 at MSI is good enough. Like we just need to beat PCS, and I'm happy. That didn't even fucking happen last split, like last year. So now I've just decided to catch myself every time wherever I think NA will go. I just vote one tier lower, and then I'm correct. Perfect.
Fucking detonation focus me. All right. Let's close it out here with God or Dog, the place where we will say something nice about a player, and then one of those players that did disappoint us. Less games to do it here with, less matches to do it here with. So this one, if we have overlap, we have overlap. Let's start with you, Dom. Who was your God of the week?
My God of the week, I'm gonna go Gala on this. I thought he was playing really well, and his team is kind of griefing him, and he's still just playing really consistently. So I was really happy with Gala's play. I think he's just in really good form. He just plays a variety of champions. He's pulling out some things that other people aren't, like Tristana, for example, and not even just Tristana and Tazeri. And yeah, I think that he's in really good form right now. So he's gonna be my God.
Monty,
I'm going to take Rookie, who can tank an unbelievable amount of aggro in the draft, including 4 mid lane bans across 2 different series. And somehow he still comes out. Well, he lost one of them, but it wasn't really his fault. And then look dominant when he gets one of the champions that you just can't let him have. So for me, it's pretty crazy how hard he can carry this V5 team. And I'm hoping we get to see him win that LPL title.
For me this week,
can I guess it? It's gonna be like Danny or something, or JoJo, because you love NA.
It was JoJo Pune. It was not Danny. It was JoJo Pune, because I feel like JoJo.
Danny, he got Zeri 3 games. That's illegal. So
yeah,
no, I think they played well.
JoJo's always had like this high ceiling, and he's hit it a couple times. But I feel like during the season, he started to kind of like struggle a little bit. Now it feels like he's ramping back on up. I mean, it was that or Abadage's interview skills. That would be godlike as well.
I mean, yeah. That was pretty insane. How do you do it, dGon? Just like how do you just maintain because you've seen a lot of the failures of North America. Like I've done shows with you for a long time now. We're like 4 or 5 years in, and you stay like positive. You stay hopeful. Like, how do you not just hate everything like I do?
I think it's because I guess.
It's the drugs.
I really just want to see it. See us make it. It's the drugs. Yeah, it's your drugs. It's your drugs. That's why everyone else fights with you, dude. No. I think it's really just the hope that we will get better at some point and someday, and it'll just feel that good. Don't you have like a fan? Like, aren't you a fan of a sports team that hasn't had that in a long time?
Yeah, but
the
I
Dolphins.
Hate them. Yeah, exactly. But I like hate the Dolphins. Like I like the Dolphins. They're my favorite team, but like I want to see them continue losing. Like I fucking hate them, these motherfuckers. Like every time they do something, like they fired our coach, I was like, fuck, I hate you guys. Like please just fucking keep on doing poorly so I can continue flaming you.
I guess in my lifetime, right? Monty can attest to that. We've had the Broncos find success with the guy that was supposed to do it with John Elway. And then we realized, hey, our fan base is hating us. We hate everything.
Man.
Had to
you
go
guys
buy.
Make me feel young. What the fuck?
We had to go buy Peyton Manning, right? And then after that, like I've had the Nationals without Bryce Harper. That was like a teamwork way to do it. We had the Washington Capitals with Ovechkin and like the anointed one be able to do it. So like there's multiple different ways to win, and you just keep hoping that one day comes, because it does feel like really, really good when it works. So whoever it is in NA, it's going to be a great time, and what better way to do it here in North America? That's not a really good reason, but you know, it does look like our teams are at least trying different things. Like look at it. 100 Thieves bought their roster. TL bought their roster but constructed it within like creative rule sets, and then EG are the ones investing into the young talent. So we have 3 different like strategies within this North American top 3. So I'm interested in that. That
I just can't wait. So I think 100 Thieves will be playing TL in the finals. I think TL is going to beat EG. So I can't wait to just get the 10 import finals, just like we got the winner bracket finals. Just literally just looking at my region, it's like not one American on this whole fucking stage. I'm like, yep, that's where we've gone. And so the craziest thing is that like it doesn't matter where they come from, they just become American after playing in LCS. Like they just become like American teams. And I'm just
Santorum,
like,
baby.
How did this happen? Like somehow I swear
we have 2 world championships in the top 3 teams right now.
Yeah.
True. Okay, so I swear you could take T1 right now, right? T1 right now, you can move them to NA. Somehow by the end of the split, they would just be like Baron throwing with 100 Thieves. It would just be a complete fucking shit fest. 100 Thieves would beat them 3-2 or something. Like I don't know how the fuck it happens, but like you just become American when you play in LCS.
I would
It's
really
the quality
love
of
to be able to
practice.
test
I mean,
that.
I can just tell you right now that in Overwatch, NA players were not very good compared to Korean players. And when all of the teams were in LA and the outside of scrim time solo queue in Overwatch was the best in the world. It was better than it was in Korea because all the pro players were playing at the same time outside of their scrim blocks. And what would you know? The NA teams actually got good enough to compete with the Korean teams, and then we started having mixed NA and Korean rosters win actual titles. So the problem is the practice environment is terrible here.
And people hated watching NA win so much that everyone stopped watching Overwatch at the same time. Like, we can't have this. It's too positive. Like, let's just like kill it off. Like, let's watch some Valorant and get depressed again. Like, is it on right now? Perfect. Like,
jeez. All right.
But it is a serious issue where it's like, I do think it's just the competitiveness of the practice environment, because we have other cases where we knew that Koreans were better, and then we put all the Koreans and NA people together in NA, and the NA teams got much better. So
holy shit. So we just gotta like bring all of Korea.
Well, we're gonna do it at Worlds, Dom, but it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work.
Well, we gotta do it. We gotta do it for a longer period of time. We've just got to be like, look, COVID was really bad right here. Why don't you guys all the LCK players will just build another LCK within LA? We'll all play with
LACK.
Yeah, it will be LACK.
Look, LA is already half Korean anyway, so I think it works.
Yeah, literally, it's like we have a whole town. Like, we have a whole town for everyone. Like, please.
Everybody is welcome in Los Angeles to play the League of Legends and increase the scrim quality. But I do think
it's not even about that. It's about making them worse. It's about like now you have to play with 60 ping. Like we've got to just kill off their region.
That's what happened to Summit. Summit reached the limit. He was like, "Oh, okay. Like this would have worked if I was on the internet, not on LAN." That every time. That's what it was. Let's go dog. Dog for the days.
Oh,
Monty,
come
you first.
on. It has to be Summit that we threw out of the airlock earlier. Like the thing about it is that what?
I've got somebody
You have somebody else? All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think like in isolation, the Camille pick works in game 2 in a theoretical framework, but the practice of it is like if he's in this bad form, you can't be drafting like that because then you just don't have any win conditions. Because if the win condition is the Ornn Camille matchup and you're going to start like a 4-1 split composition with Siege from the Trundle, Corki, Jinx, Tom Kench, then you actually have to apply pressure. And if he's just going to play extremely badly, then there's no remaining hope, right? So I think given his condition, I preferred to see the way that he played in the Golden Guardian series, even though we didn't learn anything because Golden Guardians played horrifically. But I think them playing him weak side and deprioritizing him a little bit was the way to move forward. This just showed that their approach in this series, trying to have him play some of these hyper carries, was misguided, and he couldn't live up to the expectations that he justifiably earned as who will be the MVP of this split. We're not going to erase his fantastic regular season, but something's deeply broken within this team. As we discussed at length, it doesn't feel like they're drafting the way that most people on the team thinks makes sense, which means that somebody is the saboteur, and it appears to be Summit.
Dom, who you got? Someone different, you said.
I had a couple I was going. I almost said Way, but I'm gonna give Way. I'm gonna give him a pass.
He had some good Viego games.
Yeah, I mean, I just like for his quality of play. I mean, this guy, like at his peak, is somebody who plays like one of the absolute best junglers in the world, and he's just playing kind of bad right now, which is a huge like.
I would also argue that at least Way, saved some games with some impressive, like he Baron stole a game that actually won them a game. So he did dig them out of the, he dug them out of the hole at times too, but yes.
But the person I was actually going to go with is Blabber, because I feel like Blabber is just not playing so because Summit's been playing so fucking badly. It's like, let Blabber kind of go under the radar. But in reality, it's like Blabber is somebody who should be up to that fucking standard too. Like Blabber's the guy who, when C9 was playing their best, they had the best jungler in the league by far and the best top in the league. Like Blabber was the best jungler. Like he was shitting on everyone, and he just goes through these phases where he's just playing kind of okay to like bad, where he doesn't even look competitive with the other junglers, where it's like, dude, you are supposed to be so much better than what you're doing right now. And it feels like whenever the team starts breaking down and they start having problems, he's somebody who suffers a lot just as a player. It seems like bad environments seem to really affect his performance negatively, and I just feel like he's not playing anything like himself. I mean, I think Blabber's really fucking good. I think he's the best jungler in the history of North America. I know people are like, but Xmithy has fucking Xmithy, all right? Blabber is the best we've ever had, okay? Blabber is the best.
Was a Sejuani main.
Blabber is the highest quality jungler that has ever existed in North America, and I want to see him playing like that. I want to see him just shitting on everyone within the region, or at least doing well, like instead of it being like he goes from being like a 5th place jungler to like a 1st place jungler, it should be like he's the best jungler when he's playing well, and when he's playing kind of bad, it should be like 2nd or 3rd. It shouldn't be like, oh, you can't even compete with these other guys all of a sudden.
I think what I've noticed about Blabber now is like he's a very emotional and momentum based player, where it's like when the team is doing well, like he does very well, and it seems like when there are synergy problems within the team, he just plays real bad.
And it's weird. It's weird because he personally, because I've chatted with him after the games and had the interviews, it doesn't seem to like affect him viscerally. He's very logical about it. Like,
yeah, no, I agree.
So it's weird.
But I just, in my observations of kind of his ups and downs, he goes as the team goes a lot of the time, which is true of many junglers. Like it's tough to not be that way as a jungler, but it just feels like he plays differently when his teammates are not up to snuff.
So are you saying he had too many downs this series? Too much downs?
No, that's what you're saying.
Oh no, I was asking you. That's what I was trying to understand.
No, I am not.
Okay, all right.
That was nice. Good job, Monty. I think for me, I would go with Whippo on the top side of the map. I think he ran into the Ornn and there was no solution to it, and Someday was just dunking him. And even then, before that, the Tryndamere game, I felt like Someday was still finding ways to have an impact at Whippo on the Aatrox. I wanted him to take over the game a little bit more, and I think he struggled. And
I think Steve alluded to this in the interview where it's like sometimes you think, some of these like counter picks or like wacky picks that Blippo has work really well in scrims, and then like you get on stage and people play more conservatively, you don't get those leads, and then they just look dumb. So he basically outed, I think, Blippo if I'll just put words into his mouth. I don't care. I think my interpretation.
We already got the fucking interview. Who cares? What is he gonna do? Not come back to another show? Like he might not ever be invited again.
My interpretation of Steve's comments is that he watched scrims and Blippo was doing great with some of these matchups, and that's why they didn't ban Ornn, and then they didn't work on stage. That's my interpretation. I think that's probably accurate.
Yeah.
No, exactly. Like when I heard him talk about Jat, he just said that Jat knew nothing about League of Legends. That's how I interpret it. It's probably what he meant. So.
he knew nothing about League of Legends,
idiot.
but he would do better this split.
Yeah, because what he was saying is that the players are so smart that like the fact that he doesn't know anything wouldn't actually hurt them at all. So they don't need.
There definitely couldn't have been player egos last year that may have been involved with the coaching structure that they have.
I mean, well, I think that he hit it right on the head. Like he was when you look at Jad, he was really good at delegating responsibilities to certain people. Like he delegated Alfari to work at McDonald's for 4 weeks, and that ended up working out really well. So.
He delegated Alfari's role to Jenkins. That was brilliant.
Look, by this point in the show, I don't say anything that has any substance anymore. Like at this point in the show, I am literally just saying bullshit sarcastically. So like if you want anything else out of me, just turn it off.
This show always gets loopy at the end because I've been doing shows since it's like my 6th hour of show, and my filters just got at that point. Then this is the danger zone of me saying.
I know. That's why I was really impressed with you dodging Dom just a second ago. And of course,
he tried to trick me, but it didn't work.
This is the part where fans will come, and this is the comment. These guys don't even care anymore at the end.
Look, we care more than the fucking pro players that we're talking about, at least. So, like,
I've done more talk shows than pro players practice in a single day today. So fuck those guys.
That is true.
Facts.
The way that it's structured now. It used to not be that way. All right. With that, y'all, thank you so much for joining us. Again, big thanks to Big Steve for coming on in and talking, give us some insight on TL from last season, this season, and beyond. For more content, make sure to like and subscribe. Like this video, subscribe to the Deserto channel. We're almost over the Astralis number. Astralis sitting at like 11,000. We're at like 9,000 now. We're just 2,000 behind. Come on, guys. We are better than the worst of Europe. Get us in there. And then where can people find you this week, Monty?
I'll be doing a watch party, so you should watch my watch party and Dom's watch party at the same time.
Yeah. We know you guys have double monitors.
I'll be doing a watch party where you can actually watch the game, which is
yeah. Well, Riot likes me even less than they like you, so there you go.
You know what? I get messages from Riot. Like I got a message today from Riot where it's like, just by the way, like you're allowed to co-stream finals and 3rd place match, and I was like, that's what we said the whole. What did this almost change, or like why the fuck did you tell me? Like why did you tell me this today? Like it's like they're always like just in case you were unclear, you can actually co-stream the final. You haven't got banned yet. And it's like, well, okay, man. Like
I feel like they do it because
they're just reminding you. What Riot is they're just a protection racket, Dom, and they'll be like, well, wow, it'd be a shame if anything happened to these nice final co-streams, Dom, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be a shame?
I mean, how would you feel, Monty, if you're like wife came up to you like today and then it was just like, just by the way, Monty, I just wanted you to know that I still do find you attractive. Like you'd be like, what the
I mean, look. As far as the Riot relationship goes, it beats me just waking up one morning in Korea and then having an email that says you've been banned. You have a week to sell your team. No, we won't tell you any of the reasons why. That was a fabulous morning for me.
Yeah.
I don't think I told you guys when I got told I wasn't getting, like, I guess I had just gotten to the LCS and I got pulled into a meeting with my manager and was like, hey, there might be a change in the future that might affect your work. Don't worry, we're going to go to Worlds in China, so you'll have 3 months to figure it out. And then right after that, went to another meeting where they're like, hey, we're going from best of threes to best of ones. Everyone started cheering. And I was like, I've been here for 3 months. I'm getting fired. What's going? And then no one was here for the next 3 months to help talk me through what I was supposed to do. And then I went to Golden Guardians, where that was a dumpster fire because they fired the only person that knew what they were doing, which was Loco.
So positive now. I can see why you're so positive now. You're like at least I get to interview players. Like no one's like ruining my life currently, so I could be hopeful. Like that's the least I can do.
Dom, so you're doing the co-streams. What else are you doing this week? Where can people find you?
I am just only co-streaming. I keep on telling people that I'm going to stream, but like, I mean, the problem is I don't want to fucking smurf, and I play on my account and I just get 20-minute queues because this game is completely fucking dead within North America. So I'm probably just going to do the co-streams, do a couple talk shows, and then you probably won't see me for like 3-4 weeks until MSI starts. Like,
you're going to go take a nice vacation. I think you deserve a vacation, Dom. Are you going to take a vacation?
I am taking a vacation. I'm going to Miami. I'm seeing my parents for the first time in like 3 years.
Congrats.
So yeah, I'm going on vacation for a week.
Great.
Awesome. I'm not one of those people that travels much. Like I can call my parents and it feels fine. You know, I'm not like one of those.
I'm sure also, your parents will appreciate it, Dom.
No, they actually fucking hate me. They're like, no, we don't want to see you. Like, please don't come.
Have they sent you a message yet telling you that you're still able to come to Miami to visit them?
Yeah. No, they tell me like, by the way, like just in case you were wondering, like, we still do love you. Like it's like, like thank you, thank you. I guess like I didn't.
All right, we brought it full circle. Let's go.
Yeah. I will be on site at Houston on Sunday. So you can catch me there if you guys have tickets, or we'll be going to that. I'll be there. And then I guess before that, I've got my fan control football stuff. It was on NBC. We had 2 million unique viewers just on Twitch.
Congrats.
Yeah, we were. My voice was on SportsCenter because Terrell Owens caught a touchdown, and like I was setting up the play before, and then the play-by-play took it. It was cool. So you can catch that on Saturday.
How many? We had 2 million views on Twitch.
2 million unique viewers. Yep.
Oh, okay.
What
was the average? It's got to be like 100K plus, right?
Average was lower. I don't remember. That's the stat that the CEO keeps pushing at us. But it was just Twitch, and we're on like NBC, Peacock, LX, all this other stuff. So it was pretty cool. Okay, we'll come back to break down the LPL finals, the LCS finals, and you'll hear more shenanigans from us next week. Be sure to tune in. For now, take care, and we'll see y'all next week. See ya.